Since my childhood, my aunt did everything to destroy my self-confidence. She called me ugly, stupid. She broke something inside me. In the face of hostility, no matter how well prepared I am, I'm left speechless and I shrink back. I was happy to be with my parents. I didn't see them often, so I was very happy when my father was there and not in prison. All the people who fought for freedom were my heroes. There are no tears in my eyes, but there is rage in my heart. Did so many freedom fighters and martyrs give their lives for this? Martyrs don't die. They live in the people's hearts. I've never turned to anybody for advice and counsel. I have to take my own decisions. My commitment is my symbol, my vision, my standard, and for this vision, my commitment. My life is a message to my people. If you want to understand me, look at the work I've done. Fear any fear is a waste of time, as the regrets. Without courage, you cannot practice any other virtue. Forgiveness is a virtue of the brave. There is not love where there is no will. The power to question is the basis of all human progress. People tend to forget their duties but remember their rights. Opportunities are not offered. They must be wrested and worked for, and this calls for perseverance and courage. As I always say, I do not wish you an easy time, but I wish you that whatever difficulty you may have, you will overcome it. Just when you think you've achieved something, you realize you've achieved nothing. And still, you have to go forward just the same, toward a dream so distant that your road has neither beginning nor end. The purpose of life is to believe, to hope, and to strive. Happiness is a state of mind. One is happy about certain things and not so happy about others. You must learn to be still in the midst of activity and vibrantly alive in repose. To be liberated, woman must feel free to be herself, not in rivalry to man, but in the context of her own capacity and her personality. I am proud to be a woman. My father was a statesman. I am a political woman. My father was a saint. I am not. I'm certainly not a workaholic. I think basically I'm lazy, but I have a housewife's mentality when I go about my job. If I see something dirty or untidy, I have to clean it up. My grandfather once told me that there were two kinds of people: those who do the work and those who take the credit. He told me to try to be in the first group. There was much less competition. I am not a person to be pressured by anybody or any nation. I am not a person to be loved. I am a person to be feared, perhaps respected. I suppose leadership at one time meant muscles, but today it means getting along with people. Have a bias toward action. Let's see something happen now. Whenever you take a step forward, you are bound to disturb something. You cannot have a revolution by design. It must come by itself, but we can set the stage for it. The collective judgment of the electorate must be respected. This is why we feel that democracy is important, because democracy allows you to have small explosions and therefore avoid the bigger explosions. Democracy is not a structure. It is a spirit. One must beware of ministers who can do nothing without money and those who want to do everything with money. All my games were political games. I was, like Joan of Arc, perpetually being burned at the stake. I am frequently attacked. I shall continue to serve until my last breath. A nation's strength ultimately consists in what it can do on its own and not in what it can borrow from others. India wants to avoid being pushed into a corner. India wants to retain its freedom of action. The environmental problems of developing countries are not the side effects of excessive industrialization, but reflect the inadequacy of development. Education is a liberating force, and in our age, it is also a democratizing force, cutting across the barriers of caste and class, smoothing out inequalities imposed by birth and other circumstances. The greatest of all contraceptives is affluence. On the one hand, the rich look askance at our continuing poverty. On the other, they warn us against their own methods. We have to prove to the disinherited majority of the world that ecology and conservation will bring an improvement in their lives. There are grave misgivings that the discussion on ecology may be designed to distract attention from the problems of war and poverty. Are not poverty and need the greatest polluters? Wearing khadi was a badge of honor. It was something one was proud to do. There is no time for cut and dried methods in this revolutionary period. There exists no politician in India daring enough to attempt to explain to the masses that cows can be eaten. I do not like carving the world into segments. We are one world. Peace we want because there is another war to fight against: poverty, disease, and ignorance. You can't shake hands with a clenched fist. I have lived a long life, and I am proud that I spend the whole of my life in the service of my people. I am only proud of this and nothing else. If I die a violent death, as some fear and a few are plotting, I know that the violence will be in the thought and the action of the assassins, not in my dying. Even if I died in the service of the nation, I would be proud of it. Every drop of my blood will contribute to the growth of this nation and to make it strong and dynamic. You have to have courage, courage of different kinds. First, intellectual courage, to sort out different values and make up your mind about which is the one which is right for you to follow. You have to have moral courage to stick up to that, no matter what comes in your way, no matter what the obstacle and the opposition is. Indira Gandhi was one of the most complex and formidable leaders of the 20th century. As the first and only female prime minister of India, she shaped the destiny of a young nation with unyielding resolve, ruthless political instinct, and a deep, often conflicted sense of purpose. Born in 1917 into the Nehru dynasty, she was raised in the crucible of India's freedom struggle, surrounded by revolutionaries, imprisoned parents, and the heavy expectations of history. Her leadership blended visionary ambition with authoritarian force, introducing bold reforms like the nationalization of banks and the Green Revolution, while also declaring a state of emergency that suspended democratic rights. She was both revered and feared, celebrated as the Iron Lady of India and criticized for centralizing power. Yet behind the public image was a woman of profound emotional complexity, scarred by early family fractures, driven by duty, and haunted by the weight of legacy. Her life was a paradox of idealism and pragmatism, sacrifice and controversy, power and vulnerability. Indira Gandhi's words offer more than political insight. They reveal the mind of a leader navigating a turbulent world and the soul of a woman forging her own identity in the shadows of greatness.